Ladies and gentlemen, let us talk about a word, nice. It's a word that has been drilled into us since childhood. Be nice, they say. Be a good girl. But what does that really mean? What is it that we are being told to become, to embody, to represent? Is it the true expression of who we are, or is it something far more dangerous? The word nice has become a badge that many women wear as though it is the highest form of virtue, yet it is often nothing more than a mask. For generations, women have been conditioned to believe that being nice means being lovable, acceptable, and deserving of respect. We've been told that niceness is a reflection of our value, that to be nice is to be good, that it is the path to success and happiness. But what does being nice really mean, and why has it come to represent the pinnacle of virtue? Niceness, as it is understood in today's society, is often synonymous with passivity. It is about putting others' needs before your own, suppressing your own opinions, and stifling your desires to avoid confrontation or discomfort. It is about smiling when you want to cry, agreeing when you want to disagree, and staying silent when you should speak up. It is the art of blending in, of being agreeable to avoid rocking the boat. But this definition of niceness is not only problematic, it is deeply damaging. When we redefine nice in this way, we begin to see that it is not a reflection of true strength, wisdom, or integrity. Instead, it's a byproduct of fear. The fear of judgment, the fear of rejection, the fear of being too bold or too outspoken. For many women, being nice has become an automatic defense mechanism, a way to gain approval or avoid conflict. It has become a tool for self-preservation, but one that ultimately leads to the erosion of self-identity. This kind of niceness teaches women to ignore their own needs and desires for the sake of others' comfort, which is not a sustainable or healthy way of living. It creates an environment where women feel they must constantly conform to the expectations of others, bending themselves into shapes that are unnatural and unhealthy in order to be accepted. It conditions them to believe that their voice, their ideas, and their value are secondary to keeping the peace. Furthermore, this version of niceness can often be an obstacle to real connection. People who are always nice, who never challenge, never question, and never rock the boat tend to exist in a shallow, transactional relationship with those around them. True relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on honesty, vulnerability, and authenticity. Niceness, in its most extreme form, becomes a barrier to these deeper, more meaningful connections. At its core, niceness has become an ideal that forces women to shrink themselves to fit into a box that was never meant for them. It is not a standard of virtue, it is a tool of conformity, one that suffocates personal growth and authenticity. In a world that places immense pressure on individuals to fit into predefined molds, the call for authenticity has never been more urgent. The societal expectation for women to conform to established standards of beauty, behavior, and success often results in a life lived not for themselves, but for others. Conformity in this sense becomes a silent prison. It forces women to hide parts of themselves in order to meet the desires and expectations of society, friends, family, or the workplace. Authenticity, however, offers a way out of this self-imposed bondage. To conform is to mold yourself into something you are not, altering your behavior, opinions, or appearance to blend in, to gain approval, or to avoid conflict. The pressure to conform is everywhere. It is in the media, in the way others speak to you, in the way people expect you to respond. This pressure often starts early, ingrained in us through childhood and reinforced throughout our lives. Whether it's the notion that women should always be agreeable, that we should suppress our emotions, or that we must remain silent in the face of injustice. Conformity demands that we put on a mask and act in ways that may feel alien to our true selves. The cost of conformity is high. When women conform, they often lose sight of who they are. They internalize messages about their worth, their value, and their capabilities based on what society tells them they should be rather than who they are meant to become. This disconnection can lead to feelings of emptiness, frustration, and confusion as women strive to meet unattainable standards only to realize they are sacrificing their true selves in the process. Authenticity, on the other hand, is the act of embracing who you are, flaws and all. It is being true to your own beliefs, desires, and identity, regardless of whether it aligns with the expectations placed upon you. Authenticity requires courage. It demands that you face the discomfort of standing apart from the crowd, of saying no when others expect you to say yes, of speaking your truth when silence would be easier. It means that you are willing to walk the path that aligns with your deepest convictions, even if it causes tension or discomfort. Living authentically also means being unapologetically yourself. It means you don't shrink to fit someone else's idea of what you should be. You are free to express your thoughts, your dreams, and your emotions without fear of judgment. Authenticity gives you permission to live fully in your own skin, to celebrate the unique qualities that make you who you are. It frees you from the weight of comparison, of trying to live up to the ever-changing standards that society has set for you. Instead, you begin to live according to your own internal compass. In a world that constantly encourages women to conform, embracing authenticity is a radical act. It is a rejection of the idea that you must be anything other than yourself to be worthy of love, respect, or success. When you choose authenticity over conformity, you begin to cultivate a life of true freedom and fulfillment, one that is built on the foundation of your own identity, not on the shifting sands of societal approval. People-pleasing is often masked as kindness, but in reality it is a destructive habit that traps individuals in a cycle of self-neglect and emotional turmoil. Many women, in particular, are conditioned to prioritize the comfort and approval of others over their own well-being. From a young age, they are taught that their value is determined by their ability to meet the needs of those around them, to make others happy, and to keep the peace. Over time, this mentality becomes ingrained in their behavior, creating a deep-seated fear of disappointing others and an overwhelming desire to be liked at all costs. The primary danger of people-pleasing is that it erodes self-identity. When you live to please others, you lose sight of who you truly are. Your actions, decisions, and thoughts become focused on the expectations and desires of others rather than on your own values, needs, and desires. This can lead to confusion about what you want from life, as well as deep dissatisfaction. You might find yourself agreeing to things that go against your beliefs, engaging in activities that drain you, or maintaining relationships that are toxic, all in an effort to avoid conflict or rejection. People-pleasing also comes with a significant emotional cost. The more you prioritize others' needs over your own, the more you begin to neglect your own emotional health. You might feel overwhelmed, resentful, or burnt out because you're constantly giving of yourself without receiving anything in return. Yet because you fear rejection or conflict, you continue the cycle hoping that others will eventually recognize and appreciate your sacrifices. This often leads to feelings of bitterness or frustration when others do not reciprocate or acknowledge the effort you've put into maintaining their happiness. People-pleasing also undermines personal growth. In order to truly grow as a person, you must make decisions that are aligned with your own values, even if they are uncomfortable or unpopular. When you are always worried about pleasing others, you prevent yourself from making choices that push you out of your comfort zone or challenge you to step into your potential. You remain stuck, constantly adapting to meet others' expectations rather than pursuing your own dreams or goals. In relationships, people-pleasing can be particularly damaging. While it may seem like a way to maintain harmony or avoid conflict, it often creates an imbalance of power. One person is always giving, always sacrificing, while the other may be taking, sometimes without even realizing it. Over time, this dynamic can breed resentment, undermine trust, and create a sense of emotional exhaustion in the people-pleaser. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, honesty, and the willingness to challenge each other when necessary. People-pleasing inhibits this. as it prevents authentic communication and fosters a dynamic where one person's needs are consistently neglected. People-pleasing is a lie that tells you that your worth is tied to how much you give to others, but the truth is that you are worthy simply because you are you. It may take time and courage, but breaking free from the chains of people-pleasing is essential to living a life of authenticity, emotional health, and fulfillment. It requires you to redefine your worth, to set boundaries, and to choose your own well-being over the approval of others. Assertiveness and boundaries are often misunderstood as forms of selfishness or aggression, especially for women. Society has conditioned women to be accommodating, to put others' needs first, and to avoid conflict at all costs. In this environment, asserting yourself or setting boundaries is often seen as rude, demanding, or confrontational. However, assertiveness and boundaries are not about disregarding others. They are about honoring your own needs, values, and well-being while maintaining respect for others. Assertiveness is the ability to express your thoughts, feelings, and needs openly and honestly, without fear or hesitation. It is about standing up for yourself and communicating your desires clearly, even when it may be uncomfortable. Assertiveness requires a sense of self-respect and self-awareness. It involves recognizing that your opinions, feelings, and needs are just as valid as anyone else's. Being assertive does not mean imposing your will on others, but it does mean standing firm in your beliefs, setting limits, and refusing to accept behavior or situations that undermine your dignity or mental health. Boundaries, on the other hand, are the invisible lines we draw around ourselves to protect our emotional, mental, and physical space. Boundaries are necessary for maintaining a healthy sense of self and for ensuring that our relationships are built on mutual respect. Without boundaries, we risk becoming overwhelmed by the demands and expectations of others, losing sight of who we are and what we need. Boundaries allow us to say no without guilt, to prioritize our well-being, and to take control of our time and energy. They are not walls that isolate us from others, but lines that create space for healthy, respectful interaction. Setting and maintaining boundaries requires courage. It means having the strength to say no when something doesn't align with your values or when you're overwhelmed. It means refusing to accept disrespect or mistreatment, whether from friends, family, coworkers, or even strangers. Boundaries can be emotional, physical, or psychological. For example, you might set an emotional boundary by choosing not to engage in toxic conversations or situations that drain your energy. A physical boundary might involve telling someone not to touch you in a way that makes you uncomfortable. A psychological boundary might include not allowing others to dictate your thoughts or beliefs. Unfortunately, many women struggle with setting boundaries because of the fear of disappointing others or creating conflict. This fear often stems from the pressure to be nice, to always be agreeable and accommodating. However, the truth is that without boundaries, we are left vulnerable to exploitation, burnout, and resentment. The inability to say no when necessary leads to feelings of frustration and helplessness as you give more than you can offer and continue to deplete yourself for the sake of others. When you learn to be assertive and establish clear boundaries, you create a framework for healthier, more balanced relationships. You protect your own mental and emotional space, ensuring that your needs are acknowledged and respected. Boundaries also promote self-respect. By setting limits on what you will and will not tolerate, you send a clear message to others about how you expect to be treated. It is an expression of self-love, a recognition that you deserve the same respect and care that you freely give to others. Assertiveness and boundaries are not about being harsh or unkind. They are about creating a space in which you can be true to yourself, honor your own needs, and maintain your integrity. They allow you to navigate the world with confidence and clarity, knowing that your voice matters and that you are worthy of respect. They are essential tools for self-preservation, growth, and well-being. In a world that constantly pushes for conformity and seeks to silence dissent, true strength is not found in submission or in blending into the crowd. True strength is found in standing firm, even when it feels uncomfortable, when others doubt you, or when society pressures you to bend to their will. Standing firm is not an act of stubbornness or defiance for the sake of it. Rather, it is the courage to uphold your values, your beliefs, and your identity in the face of opposition. At its core, standing firm requires conviction. It means holding steadfast to your principles and refusing to compromise your integrity, no matter how difficult or unpopular it may be. True strength is not the ability to avoid conflict, but the ability to face it head on with clarity and resolve. It is about having the courage to stand up for what is right, even when you stand alone. Whether it's in personal relationships, at work, or in the larger societal context, standing firm demands that you prioritize your own beliefs and values over external pressures and expectations. In a world that encourages passive compliance and seeks to mold individuals into agreeable, non-confrontational figures, standing firm is often misinterpreted as aggression or resistance, but it is far from that. It is in fact a quiet yet powerful act of self-respect. Standing firm does not require loud protests or forceful actions. It simply requires the willingness to remain unwavering in the face of adversity. It is a peaceful, unshakable commitment to your own truth. Moreover, standing firm is also an act of resilience. It's about persevering through hardship, disappointment, and even rejection because you know your convictions are worth defending. In those moments when the world pushes against you, when people criticize or attempt to tear you down, standing firm means not giving in to their attempts to diminish your worth. It means looking the challenge in the eye, understanding that you may face difficulty, but knowing that your strength lies in your refusal to back down. This kind of strength is not always visible to the naked eye. It's not about how loudly you speak or how forcefully you act. Rather, true strength is in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and having the courage to uphold those beliefs even when it's hard. It's about trusting yourself enough to take a stand even when others may question or ridicule you. Standing firm also requires a deep understanding of your own worth and identity. When you have a clear sense of who you are, when you are grounded in your values, standing firm becomes easier because you no longer seek validation from external sources. You stop measuring your worth based on the opinions of others, and instead you find strength in your own sense of purpose and self-respect. It's important to understand that standing firm does not mean being inflexible or unwilling to grow. It doesn't mean refusing to listen or learn from others. Rather, it's about remaining true to your essential values and not compromising on what matters most to you. It's about having the strength to evolve, but never at the cost of your integrity or your core beliefs.
In moments of uncertainty or challenge, those who stand firm are the ones who are rooted in their purpose, their identity, and their principles. This is where true strength lies, not in wavering, not in succumbing to pressure, but in standing firm with unwavering courage, conviction, and resolve. For too long, society has silenced the voices of women, encouraging them to remain passive, to stay quiet, and to suppress their thoughts and opinions. This social conditioning has led to the belief that women's voices are less valuable, less important, and less worthy of being heard. But the truth is, every woman has a unique perspective, and her voice holds power. Empowering women to speak up is not just about encouraging them to share their opinions. It's about dismantling the systems of oppression that have kept their voices muted for centuries. It's about fostering an environment where women can confidently express themselves, stand up for their rights, and advocate for change. One of the greatest barriers to women speaking up is the fear of judgment. Many women are taught to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, and to keep their opinions to themselves, especially when those opinions go against the grain of societal expectations. This fear is amplified in professional, social, and even personal settings where women may face criticism, rejection, or ridicule for speaking their minds. It can feel easier to stay silent than to risk the backlash that might come from expressing an unpopular viewpoint or challenging the status quo. However, true empowerment comes from learning to break free from this fear. Women must understand that their voices matter, that their ideas and contributions are just as valid as anyone else's. Empowering women to speak up starts with cultivating the belief that their thoughts and feelings are worthy of expression, even if those opinions may be unpopular or difficult to hear. Speaking up is a tool for self-empowerment, a way for women to take control of their lives, their narratives, and their futures. Speaking up is not only about asserting oneself in a professional setting, but also in personal relationships. Too often, women are socialized to prioritize the needs of others over their own. They are conditioned to remain silent or passive when they feel uncomfortable or when their boundaries are being crossed. Empowering women to speak up means giving them the strength to assert their needs, to set boundaries, and to communicate clearly in all areas of their lives. It's about teaching women that it's okay to say no, to stand firm in their beliefs, and to demand respect even when it's difficult. In order to truly empower women, society must begin to challenge the norms that suppress women's voices. This means pushing against the expectations that tell women to be quiet, to stay in their place, and to remain obedient. It means creating platforms where women can speak freely and be heard without judgment or discrimination. It means encouraging women to take leadership roles, to challenge systems of inequality, and to be advocates for themselves and for others. Empowering women to speak up also means teaching women to embrace their own worth and confidence. When a woman understands her value and believes that her voice is significant, she will no longer hesitate to speak out in the face of injustice or oppression. This confidence is rooted in self-respect and self-awareness, knowing that her voice is a powerful tool for change and that it deserves to be heard. Additionally, empowering women to speak up fosters solidarity and collective strength. When one woman speaks out, she creates space for others to do the same. It encourages a ripple effect where women stand together, lifting each other's voices and supporting one another in their struggles. This collective empowerment is a force that can transform societies, challenge systemic injustices, and create a more inclusive, equitable world. Women's voices are not just a right, they are a force for transformation. Empowering women to speak up is essential for creating a world where women can freely express themselves, contribute to societal progress, and actively shape their own futures. The power of a woman's voice is undeniable, and when she is given the space and support to use it, she has the ability to change the world. In conclusion, the journey toward empowering women is not just about encouraging them to speak up, but about dismantling the societal norms that silence their voices. True empowerment comes from teaching women to stand firm in their beliefs, assert their needs, and establish healthy boundaries. By redefining niceness and embracing authenticity without fear, the strength to speak up, to challenge expectations, and to demand respect is vital for personal growth and societal change. When women find their voices and refuse to shrink, they not only empower themselves, but uplift others as well.